So it's my pleasure to be talking to a hero of mine from when I was a little younger, Ed Kranepool. 1969, the Miracle Mets. Ed Kranepool was the starting first baseman, and I lived not far from Shea Stadium. And I went to 60 to 81 home games, sat in the last row in the grandstand every game. And I remember the Mets were out, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but they were 9.5 out on August 19th behind Chicago, and they clinched you clinched the pennant with Gary Gentry pitching, if I'm not mistaken, beat St. Louis 5-2.
Correct.
All right.
That's correct.
And what you may not know is that I was a crazy fan. I went for the World Series on the back page of the news. I slept in a puddle getting tickets, but as kids were, we snuck down from the grandstand. I went down to the first base side, and as you well remember, I'm sure, everybody flooded the field when you guys won. And I actually was hugging you, and there was a picture on the back of the Daily News of me hugging you, right? So that if you have a bad back, it's my fault. I apologize.
Well, I'm glad you did that, because obviously we became friends years later, and I needed your services over a year ago.
Fast forward 30-something years later, or whatever, 69 to like maybe 40 years later, this guy walks into my office and it says Ed Kranepool, and I pinch myself. I say, that can't be Ed Kranepool. Are you kidding? That was one of my childhood heroes. And there you are. So we got to meet again, and it's been an honor and a pleasure to take care of you. And I'm so glad you're spending the time with us. So, over the years, certain medical things have happened with you, and you could talk about it a little, but basically how someone like yourself, who is over 60 years old and you have some medical issues, how are you dealing with this crazy virus? How are you isolating, and how are you, and what are you doing to maybe give advice to people in similar situations?
Well, anybody that's a transplant recipient obviously has to adhere to all the restrictions. So I haven't been going out. I've been sitting home for the last month, driving my wife crazy and hanging around the house, because, you were at risk, and you have a bad immune system, because you take so much medication because of my transplant, that I'm just afraid to go out and be in the public eye.
That's real smart. And that's a key message to everybody who is going through this, whether you're at risk or not. We really have to be careful about, the buzzword now is social distancing, obviously. It's a new term. But someone like yourself who has immunocompromising drugs, who's had a transplant, you really need to be careful. So you have your food delivered to you, or someone brings it in, or how does that work?
Well, my wife has been doing a great job for me. She's been taking care of me. I married her for better or worse, not for lunch, but we've been spending a lot of time together the last 30 days. And we've been together over 40 years. So if we can make it through this, we can make it through anything.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a test for everyone now. So, and when she goes out, she's wearing all the protective stuff. So when she comes back, and
she's got the glove and she's got the mask on. She's really doing it, because I've been out to the hospital, for workups and stuff. So I brought back masks and I have all the equipment, but they asked me not to go out, and I try not to.
Makes sense. And that's one of the questions I was going to ask you is, in your situation, you probably still have to keep doctor appointments, right? So you're just real careful about it and minimize. Now, do they do things in the office? I know our office is currently closed. I'm looking forward to opening it again. But what we'll probably do is have people in a parking lot call them and bring people up so that the office doesn't look like Grand Central Station. Is that what's happening with you?
That's exactly what they do, Doc. We have to go out to the, you have to go out to the parking lot. They'll call you on the telephone, and then you go right into an office. They lock the door, and the doctor will see you, et cetera. So I guess the next time I see you, I'll be doing the same thing.
Absolutely. We'll be careful. And we'll be calling to set up an appointment for you. And just going back to memory lane, any people you keep in touch with from 69?
Well, I've been very friendly over the years. Ron Sabota was my roommate. Art Shamsky lives in New York, so we talk to him all the time. So we're very friendly. Cleon Jones calls me from New Orleans. He's running into a tough situation right there down there. He's got problems down there with tornadoes, and he's got the virus. So there's a lot of guys. Unfortunately, some of our other guys that live in the area are not feeling well. Buddy Harrelson right now is not doing very well, and Tom Severs in California and has got his problems. So as you get older, and we're all about the same age, unfortunately, we've got some medical problems.
Well, it's so nice of you to take the time. And the purpose of this is to let people see what everyday Americans and people who are not everyday Americans, you know, are going through. And we're trying to raise money for the hospitals on Long Island to help everybody. And this has been a great, great help. And thank you for your time. And if you ever need anything from me, you know how to get me.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I appreciate it. And St. Francis is a wonderful hospital, along with a lot of the island hospitals. I also use Stony Brook.
Thank you so much. You take care.
Thank you.